Thank you for having me here today. I want to start off by asking you a question. How many of you have read to your children when they were younger folktales? Okay, that's a good amount. How many of you have heard or read of the folktale Henny Penny? Well, the way the folktale Henny Penny goes is it starts off with this chicken by the name of Henny Penny who's sitting under a tree when all of a sudden he is struck upon the head by an acorn. Instead of thinking about this rationally, Henny Penny makes the claim that the sky is falling! The sky is falling! You might be wondering why I just shared this bit of this folktale with you. Well, what Henny Penny experienced can be similar to what many teenagers feel when it comes to anxiety. An example could be how a teenager could feel about an exam. Oh, this exam isn't going to be bad. Piece of cake. To suddenly, holy smokes, this exam is going to be impossible. I'm going to fail, and I'm not going to be worth anything in life. This is just a minor little example of what anxiety can feel like in many teenagers. It can be much more serious as well. Things it can cause many teenagers to not want to socialize with their family or friends. It can cause a decline in grades for many teenagers, and it can even lead to depression. According to the Child Mind Institute, 1 out of 3 teenagers will develop some sort of anxiety disorder by the time they turn 18 in America. That's a lot of teenagers dealing with anxiety by the time they're adults. Let me ask you this. How many of you know of or have a teenager who's dealing with anxiety right now? This problem needs to be addressed. And the way the school system can help is by implementing therapeutic practices in the mental wellness programs. I want to talk about the different kinds of therapies. There's lots of different therapies out there. Exposure therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, commitment therapy, interpersonal therapy. A lot of times many teenagers will not want to seek help from therapy because it's pretty overwhelming the amount of choices they have. I could go on for several minutes listing off other therapies, but I want to make a claim that there is a therapy that is more effective than any others, and that is CBT, which is also known as cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT, as defined by the Mayo Clinic, is a sort of self-talk therapy that takes the negative thoughts inside of our heads and it challenges the realisticness and validity of them. Researchers at the Institute of Living in Yale University School of Medicine conducted research in 2007 where they examined 26 experiments of CBT versus other forms of therapy. Of the 26 experiments, researchers found that CBT was the superior form of therapy and its effects were greater than any others. So CBT has proven to be very effective in treating anxiety. Let's keep in mind that there are several different anxiety disorders though, such as generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, PTSD, OCD, and so on. One thing connects all these anxiety disorders together, however. That is a general fear or worry about something. CBT focuses exactly on this. It focuses on that negative thought, and it challenges the realisticness and validity of it. Dr. Albert Bonfil, a psychologist in Los Angeles, conducted research on several different medical articles where he compared the conclusions of how medicine was effective with several different disorders compared to CBT. As you can tell from this chart, CBT was much more effective than medicine in almost all the therapies except for social anxiety disorder. CBT has been proven to be very effective and very helpful, and if you implement it in this school's mental wellness program, there will be a significant decrease of anxiety in many teenagers here. I want to move on to medicine now. I highly advocate the combination of medicine and therapy for treating anxiety. However, I do not believe it should be used in the school system. Medicine is risky. It causes severe side effects, such as suicidal thoughts and other physical things. To show an example of the overall effectiveness of medicine alongside its potential risks, Dr. Borwin Bandelow conducted an experiment in 2017 where he tested several different medicinal drugs for anxiety on different teenagers with different anxiety disorders. In this experiment, Dr. Bandelow discovered that venlafaxine was very effective for social anxiety disorder, sertraline with generalized anxiety disorder, and fluoxetine with separation anxiety disorder. However, Borwin also discovered one other thing. All three drugs caused the teenagers to develop some form of suicidal thoughts. We do not want this to happen within the teenagers in this school. This is something that needs to be avoided. But there might be hope in avoiding and eliminating these risks. Dr. Seffi Cronenberg and several other psychopharmacologists conducted an experiment in 2007 where they administered citalopram to teenagers with different anxiety disorders. What they were testing was this genotype, 5-HTT-LPR. In this experiment, they discovered that the teenagers with the longer strand of 5-HTT-LPR developed less suicidal thoughts than those with the smaller strands. Perhaps genotypes could be a solution for eliminating the risks. However, not enough research has been conducted yet to find out how to eliminate these risks. And this is why it should stay away from the school system. Doctors and many other professionals have studied medicine for years, and they should be the ones to make the decision on whether your teenager should be administered a certain drug or not. Leave it in their hands. However, it needs to stay out of the school system. So, how can you be involved in helping the teenagers with anxiety? Here are a few things. Breathing exercises in class. If the teenagers control their breathing, they're able to think more rationally and calm themselves. Have students turn in weekly journals expressing how they are currently feeling. If your teenagers do this, then you will be able to keep up with how they are feeling and their overall mood. Play quiet instrumental music in the background during exams. I've attached a link to a song that has been proven by many neuroscientists to help decrease the effects of anxiety and stress. Finally, have small breaks between class to allow students to walk around and visit. Simply getting some fresh air and talking to someone else can significantly help decrease anxiety. I've attached several free apps that you can find on your phones that help decrease anxiety. Calm, Headspace, and Superbetter. There are several apps out there, but I found these three to be very helpful and beneficial. Make your mental wellness program strong and continue to help the teenagers deal with anxiety better. If you incorporate what I said to you today, I assure you there will be a significant decrease in anxiety in many teenagers here. Thank you for listening.